All right, everyone, get ready because today we're diving into the creepy side of schools. We've got 5 stories that'll make you think twice about those empty hallways and late night. You know, those places we usually think of as safe havens?
Yeah, I think we all have that image of schools as these sort of predictable places.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with the face in the ceiling at Westland High in Oregon. Imagine you're a student just needing a bathroom break during class.
Classic school experience.
Totally. So you head to the bathroom and you get this unnerving feeling like you're being watched. But every time you look over your shoulder, nothing, just an empty hallway.
It's interesting how these stories often play with our sense of normalcy, right? Schools with their routines and familiar settings, they're supposed to be predictable. But then something like this happens and it just throws everything
Like
off.
a crack in that facade of safety.
Exactly.
And that crack gets wider as our student Jack steps into the bathroom stall. He hears this scratching sound coming from the door.
Oh, no.
Right? So he checks, but there's nothing there. Then he notices a crack in the ceiling tile above him, and peering through it, he sees a face.
A face.
Yeah, just a pale, emotionless face staring down at him. I don't know about you, but I'd probably never use a public bathroom again.
Yeah, that's definitely nightmare fuel. The face in the ceiling, it really plays on our fear of the unknown and the unseen. And it also connects to this psychological thing called pareidolia. Have you heard of that?
I have, actually. It's where we see patterns in random things, like faces in clouds or voices in static.
Right, so that tendency to find patterns even when they're not there could be why these stories are so creepy and so fascinating to us.
Our brains are just wired to connect the dots even when there are none. What's all interesting is that Jack wasn't the only one hearing strange noises in that bathroom. Other students had reported similar experiences.
Oh, really? So that becomes more than just one person's perception.
Exactly. It blurs the line between what's real and what's just in our heads.
That shared experience is crucial. It makes you wonder if it's mass hysteria or if something truly strange is happening in that specific location. And that ambiguity, that's what keeps us hooked.
Okay, let's shift gears and head over to Pocatello High, where security camera footage adds another layer to the story. We're talking fluorescent lights, cameras glitching out, and then this shadowy figure appearing in the hallway.
Security camera footage. That always adds an extra level of creepiness.
Right, because you think, okay, a camera doesn't lie, so now it's not just someone's word.
Exactly. And this school, Pocatello High, actually has a long history of unexplained events. Teachers and staff have reported hearing voices, things moving on their own, all that classic haunted location stuff.
It's like stepping into one of those ghost hunter shows.
Totally. These places are full of history and mystery, and local legends just add to it all.
And the footage from Pocatello High definitely plays into that. The figure in the video seems to hover near a doorway, and then it starts moving in a way that's not quite walking or gliding, more like floating. Yeah, it's hard to describe, even if you try to explain it away as faulty equipment or a prank. There's something about the way it moves that's just unsettling.
That visual evidence, it just adds a whole other dimension. It's not just stories anymore. It's something captured on camera. It makes you question what's real.
And the source leaves the cause open-ended, so we're left to grapple with the possibilities.
That's what makes it so intriguing, right? We love a good mystery.
Exactly. Speaking of grappling with the unexplainable, our next stop takes us to a small-town school where a seemingly ordinary girl suddenly loses touch with reality right in the middle of class. Imagine being her classmates, witnessing this sudden dramatic shift.
That's terrifying. The idea that someone could just lose themselves like that, it's really unsettling.
It starts with this blood-curdling scream, the kind that makes your hair stand on end. She starts looking at everyone like they're strangers mumbling things no one can understand.
It's like something out of a horror movie.
And despite the teacher's best efforts, she remains completely detached, almost possessed. And get this, after calming down, she remembers absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
No friends, family, not even her own name. It's like a chunk of her life is just erased. She leaves school that day and never returns.
So we're left with no answers, no explanation.
Right, it's like something took over her and then vanished without a trace. It makes you think, what if something similar could happen to any of us?
Yeah.
That's where the real horror lies.
It's that feeling of vulnerability, the unknown lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. That's what really gets to us, and it's that feeling of unease that we'll continue to explore as we move on to our next story, which takes us to the Visual Art Institute in Massachusetts.
If that story wasn't creepy enough, imagine the fear of someone watching you without you knowing. Our next story takes us to the Visual Art Institute in Massachusetts, where a janitor working the night shift starts noticing strange things. You know those classic eerie sounds, like muffled voices tapping something rumbling in the vents?
The vents, it seems like they always show up in these school stories, right?
It's like they're the hidden pathways of the school carrying these creepy whispers throughout the building.
I like that, the hidden pathways.
Right, so this janitor, he probably just thought it was the old building settling, or maybe a raccoon or something, but then the tapping starts to get louder and it's moving through the walls almost like it's following him.
That's when you know something's up.
For sure. So he traces the sound to this one vent and decides to check it out.
Talk about brave.
Right, he's all alone in this dark building and he's going towards the creepy sounds.
Classic horror movie setup.
I know. So he unscrews the vent cover and a man jumps out and tackles him to the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they struggle for a bit, but thankfully security gets there and subdues the intruder. Turns out this guy had been living in the vents, watching students and staff through holes he'd made in the walls.
That is so disturbing. It's like a total violation of privacy.
Right, and the thing is, we have no idea how long he was up there spying on people. It could have been weeks, months, even years.
It makes you wonder how many times we've been watched without even knowing it.
It's a chilling thought. Okay, let's take a deep breath and move on to our final story. We're back at the Visual Art Institute in Massachusetts. This time it's a different incident, but just as unsettling. Another snowy night, another janitor working late, and guess what? Those eerie noises start up again, muffled voices clanging in the vents. It's like a broken record of creepiness.
You'd think they would have checked those vents after the first incident.
You would think, but this time the janitor is down in the basement getting a drill when he hears this persistent tapping sound. He follows the sound to a vent and, yep, you guessed it, unscrews the cover.
Don't tell me. Another guy in the vents?
You got it. This one's homeless and admits to spying on students and staff through holes in the walls. It's like a recurring nightmare for this school.
It really makes you question the security measures in place, right? How could this happen twice?
And what's really disturbing is the thought that someone could be watching you without you knowing. It violates your sense of privacy. It's like something out of a horror movie.
It makes you wonder if it could happen anywhere. Who checks the vents regularly?
Exactly. It's not something you normally think about.
Right, and it's not just about physical safety. It's about the psychological impact of knowing that your personal space, your sense of security, can be violated so easily.
It makes you question your surroundings and the people you think you know. So we've gone through 5 stories from the creepy side of school life. These places we usually associate with routine and safety. They've shown us a darker side full of unexplained events and unnerving encounters. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's clear that these stories play on our fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of our personal space being violated, the fear of losing control. But beyond the fear, there's also a sense of wonder, the realization that even in the most ordinary places, there are mysteries lurking just beyond our understanding.
It's like these stories, they're peeling back the layers of what we think of as normal and showing us the strange stuff hiding underneath.
Yeah, it makes you realize that the world is a lot more complex and mysterious than we often think. And maybe that's why these stories are so interesting. They force us to confront the unknown, to accept that there are things we might never fully understand.
I know. I'm definitely going to be more aware of empty hallways and weird noises from now on. I might even start checking the vents, just in case.
Haha, well, that's probably a good idea. But on a serious note, these stories, they also make us think about safety and security. Like, how much control do we actually have over our environment? And how can we feel safe knowing that there are things we can't predict or control?
Yeah, it's kind of unsettling to think that even in places that should be safe, like schools, there are still these vulnerabilities, these hidden spots where something bad could be lurking. And it makes you wonder, what about all the other places we do, the places we just assume are safe?
Right. It's a question worth thinking about. These stories encourage us to be more aware, to trust our gut feeling when something feels off.
It's like they're telling us to stay alert, to be curious, to never completely rule out the possibility of something unexpected happening, because sometimes the most unsettling things are right there in front of us, just waiting to be discovered.
And who knows what else is out there hidden in the shadows, just waiting to be found. Maybe that's the most exciting part of it all. The fact that there's always more to learn, more to explore, even in the places we think we know best.
Well, on that note, we'll let you think about those mysteries. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the strange and unsettling side of school life. Remember, stay curious, keep those lights on, and maybe give those vents a quick check every now and then. Until next time, happy exploring.